Hi, everybody. Welcome. Sorry, we're very professional here. We're pro streamers and YouTubers. Can you tell?
First time.
I love it. Oh, what a perfect way to start this brand new show. This whole thing with tons
It's gonna
of
probably be
issues.
the last time this will happen. So
Yeah, I think we've learned the lesson now.
oh yeah.
I tried to get fancy and I was like, oh, I'll do the AV1 streaming because we recorded all of our gameplay of Jedi Survivor, which we're going to be talking about in AV1. And it's amazing. Like, you can record 4K 60 for like an hour and the file size is like 4 gigs. It's amazing. It's like actual magic. But I tried to get fancy and we were going to try to stream with it. And YouTube does support it, but I had the wrong server selected, I think, and that caused all sorts of issues. So I basically broke everything. Anyway, how are you?
It was YouTube's fault. YouTube's fault.
Yeah, there you go. It's not my fault.
No, it's not your fault. Everything's going well here. Of course, played a lot of Jedi Survivor, and happy that everyone else can finally jump into the game right now. But kind of sad to see that on PC once again. It's like this year has been crazy. I think which game do you probably like cover mostly on PC? I play on console for this reason, and I love my DualSense sort of feedback and stuff, which Jedi Survivor also has. But can you like name a few games that actually launched in a good state on PC this year? I can think of like Hogwarts Legacy was fine, right?
Kinda. I mean, but it also had weird loading stuff on everything, so I guess it wasn't just PC. Yeah, what are some good, I guess chat can help us, because we are live, everybody. People were asking if this is like a premiere. No, we are live right now, so we can see you in chat.
Yeah.
We can respond to your questions and things.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers, Anders. Don't worry. And of course, it goes without saying, as is normal with this stuff, we will try to keep up on chat, but priority goes to super chats at the end of the stream. And so just be aware of that. As for other games that released this year that were good, I don't... Hi-Fi Rush? I mean, that's a good point. Yeah, Hi-Fi Rush. Yeah.
And it like shadow dropped, which is kind of crazy actually. And I think like Dead Space was like a mess. Resident Evil, was that fun?
RE4 I think was pretty well optimized. I do remember that being good. Yeah. And
Callisto Protocol, of course, last year was like a mess.
Yeah, that was a disaster. Dead Island 2 is pretty good. Yeah, Dead Island 2 is not bad.
Nice.
So there's been some. We talked about this on stream recently where I was trying to think like, okay, is it actually the case that more PC launches are buggy and broken nowadays, or is it just that it seems like more and more are buggy and broken, you know? Because I think they're very visible nowadays, like The Last of Us on PC, super visible, memed to hell and back. But like there's been buggy PC releases every year for ever. Like, you know, it's not really a new thing.
Maybe it's because there are finally games coming out. that could also be a thing. Like, we have waited for so long. Like, of course, with COVID, a lot of like games that were already far along in development, they still released. But then in 2021, 2022, things kind of slowed down. We had like a few temples, but apart from that, it was kind of quiet. And now finally in 2023, things are picking up again. So maybe it's that. But I also would not be surprised, like, for example, with Last of Us, I think Returnal, not sure if that had some issues as well, but like, or I think it had like very high spec requirements. Like, I'm like curious if now that these games are finally launching on the new hardware and not on PS4 and Xbox One, that the PC version is just, not able to keep track of that. I'm not sure about,
Yeah. Either way, it feels bad, man. It feels bad.
Sure. Yeah.
And as I've said before, perception's more important than reality a lot of the time, because if everybody feels like every PC release is broken, that's how their buying behavior is going to
you would,
or it's going to reflect
hope
that.
So as well. Yeah. But on the it's like a very weird, hard situation, because should they have delayed Jedi Survivor on PC? Yes, but on console, it's like as we Dennis did the review on my channel, and like we still noted there are like issues, but it's still like playable. It's like not. I wish they would have like given it a few more weeks, but I can live with it. But on PC, it's kind of crazy. But what do you do? Like, do you delay the whole product because PC doesn't run? Like, it's
it's tricky, and especially like I went to a wedding last week, and there was Like we walked through all these airports for the trip, and I was blown away at how there were advertisements for Jedi Survivor everywhere on all of the TVs and all the restaurants. There were banners in the airports. Like they have been spending a pretty penny getting this thing out there, and that's why people are like, oh, well, just delay it, just whatever. It's like, no, a lot of these contracts to do that are set months in advance. It's
they already delayed it as well, 6 weeks, but maybe they should have gone for like a few more weeks. I mean, if they launch it in like mid-May or like 1 week after Zelda or something, I don't think it would have hurt the game at all.
And here's maybe my like me trying to reframe it. I think it's important for us to remember that the more hardcore gamers are not at all the majority. It very well may be the case that the vast majority of people who are actually going to be putting the money up and buying this thing at retail don't really care. Like they don't really know the difference between 1440p and 4K. They don't really tell. Like my wife, I even like did a little experiment with her where I was gonna see like if she noticed the difference in frame rates and stuff when we were testing Hogwarts Legacy, and she was like, "Yeah, it's fine." Like when we watched Avatar 2, she said she didn't notice a difference in smoothness.
Yeah, but there is of course a difference between that and having your PC crash every 5 minutes.
And that's the problem. Yeah, like the PS5 version of Jedi Survivor, I don't think run it, at least for me.
I had one crash and there were like frame drops in like the more open spaces, and some of the cutscenes like go even below 30. So that's kind of like ruining some of the key moments. But apart from that, it's like fine. It's totally like a big point of criticism, but yeah, I think the original was even in a worse state. I think
I had so many problems with the original. Yeah. I still have footage of like the floor disappearing. So you would like there's that part where you slide down the ice in, is it Zepho? I don't remember which planet, but you're sliding down these like ice ramps around corners, and the ice never rendered for me on the series or the 1X is what it was.
Yeah.
And so you're just floating.
I mean, you were at least playing on the 1X, like on Xbox One, like the regular version. That was like a pain to get that game at like a steady 30. So
it really was.
Okay, but let's talk. We're already jumping in the first topic, which I think is great. But maybe we should like tell the people what this actually is. What are they watching or listening to right now?
Yeah, good idea. So Jor, Raptor, and I have done some collabs in the past. Longtime friend of my channels. Hopefully he'd consider me a friend of his channels. We both cover Assassin's Creed, Ubisoft stuff, open world games. Like it's both a passion of ours. So we've been in similar circles for a long time, and I've always really enjoyed chatting with him. And we were throwing out this idea of like, oh, should we do a podcast? Should we like actually make this a little more formal? We started like spitballing, brainstorming a little bit, and then boom, here we are.
Yeah, and the amazing art like made by Maggie, who also does like my banner art and the profile picture. I think she did an amazing job, and also it really like shows what the podcast will be about. Like we will be talking about the games more in depth and more like in a discussion, going over the news that fits both our channels, which is already like aligned a lot. So
yeah,
so that's kind of cool.
It's gonna be really fun, and we're trying to sort of ease our way into it, but our goal is to not just do the thing, like a lot of podcasts where you start the show and you have 45 minutes of advertisements and then finally get into the topic later on. We're going to try to make sure that this show respects your time and our time, and at the end of the day, we're just chatting about video games and having a good time.
You're listening to some bad podcasts. I never heard like 45 minutes of ads, but I get what you mean. There's some stuff out there.
My wife likes the show. Should I name? I don't know. It's My Favorite Murder. It's a great show. They have wonderful chemistry, but dear God Almighty, they don't get into the like body of the show for like 45 minutes. It's like mildly infuriating. So we're gonna avoid all of that and keep it lean, keep it good. And of course, like I said earlier, we're live, so we can see your comments. We can interact with you guys in real time. And like I said, we'll try to read questions as it seems fit, but super chats, of course, get priority, and we'll go through all of those at the end of the show.
Yeah, I already see a question like, will these release on Spotify? That's totally the goal. Like we're kind of like we wanted to just like roll with it, go live, and then have this be a weekly thing. And yeah, totally like an audio version is in the works as well.
Yes,
So I see
absolutely.
multiple questions about that. Yeah.
Our goal should be, if all goes well, knock knock, unlike the start of this, we should have the Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, all that stuff should be up by hopefully the end of today, if not
Whoa.
tomorrow.
Okay.
That would be the hope,
Okay.
but we shall see. Again,
That's awesome.
fingers
Okay.
crossed.
Cool.
Anyway, but it's
Yeah.
gonna be really, really good. Anything else?
Yeah.
Anything I should touch?
Yeah, no, I think we already like kind of talked about the sort of like lead topic. I think that's cool, right? To have like sort of a sort of bigger topic that we can discuss every week. Usually when a big game is coming out, we're both playing. We can like talk about that as we already did with Star Wars Jedi. And yeah, I think it's cool to also like look at questions. So I think talk about the topic, then look at the chat. Maybe there are some questions that we can like answer and then move on. So we can also work in like timestamp sort of format for the podcast and stuff.
Absolutely.
I think that's also good to know. And we have some cool stuff lining up. It is going to be a shorter show though, because it's my father's birthday. So I have to run. Like I'm from the Netherlands. It's like almost dinner time. So I have to get on the train and go there in like 40 minutes.
Yeah. And can we just appreciate the amazing tech that allows me in Colorado and you in the Netherlands to talk about video games casually in a show format like that in real time? It's crazy. I still blows my mind. We live in the future, guys. We live in the future. But yes, it'll be a shorter show. I tend to get carried away. So just pull me back in and like, oh my God, Luke, shut up. We got to get back on topic.
Okay, let's because we already do we have like any more things we want to discuss regarding the PC issues, because like for people who don't know, like it has like I think a 5 out of 10 on Steam right now. The game of course has like almost like high 80s I think on Metacritic, but like on PC it's like a 5 out of 10 because of the issues. You tried it a bit already, right? Can we like quickly touch on that before we kind of go over our overall spoiler-free maybe impressions and then move on to another topic? Is that an idea?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's any memes, anything you've seen online at this point is probably accurate. It's just the case that the game runs really poorly. Mudahar is talking about it on Twitter. He's trying it on his 4090 and his setup. I'm not super techie. I won't pretend to know why it's having so many issues. It could be memory leak. It could be, I don't think it's shader compilation issues. It just seems like it's really bad at handling the data streaming. And as a result, it seems even like the higher your hardware goes, like even to the point of a 4090, you're going to run into like major problems. And even on console, like we were mentioning that before, I played it on PS5 last night for the video that'll be going up later, and a performance mode maybe runs for me at like 40, maybe 45, especially in the opening hour or two.
Yeah, I was like surprised because I switched to the quality mode, because in the photo mode, if you like go for the quality mode, it obviously looks better. And I was like, sometimes do I have like the performance mode on or not? Because there's not that big of a frame difference, which is crazy actually.
Yeah. And it
I still
looks
prefer
so
the
much
performance
worse.
modes.
It looks
Yeah. In the more linear levels, like the performance mode, you totally notice it. But especially on Kobo, the more open planets, it will dip. I'm curious to see like the Digital Foundry. It's gonna be a bloodbath, I think.
Yeah,
it's gonna be rough, and it sucks. Like to like segue to the overall impressions. I almost finished the game. I'm not done. So Dennis on the channel for us did a review. And like, I personally think it's a great game. I am a little bit low. Like, I still have to do the final missions, which I'm hearing like very good things about it. Like, I think the game starts really well. Of course, no story spoilers. And then it kind of, I'm like, maybe it's me, but I'm like, I just played God of War Ragnarok, and it's basically kind of the same game, if you know what I mean. It's like they really nailed this sort of linear open structure that, correct me if I'm wrong, we kind of saw with Tomb Raider, like as like one of the first games that kind of in the more modern area, like that kind of experimented with that, so that you had like your super linear cinematic moments. Of course, Uncharted at one point did that as well with the Madagascar level, and Lost Legacy had like a very cool open level as well. But apart from that, all the sections were very linear. And what we're now seeing also with The Lost of Us Part 2 having the Seattle level, these linear games get sort of open levels. And Jedi Survivor does that as well, but it's very much like at one point you will run into something, you can't access it yet. Okay, I will have to come back later. I will get the grapple hook now. Okay, now I can do this sort of activity. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because I've only played these games for the last couple of months that I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm not surprised anymore. That's kind of my feeling after playing this game as well.
Mm-hmm.
There are still really cool story moments, but yeah, I'm not sure how you feel, but also some things that I wish were like that. Like it's totally like an improvement across the board versus Fallen Order, but it still went only like half a step in the right direction for me. Like the cosmetics, of course, in the first game, only ponchos. That sucked. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god, I got the pink one, I got the yellow one, and that was it. Oh, I got like a new lightsaber sort of thing that you don't even really see in the game. So they totally improved that. You can now have like your jacket, your pants. You can like change your hair and beard for Cal. So that's pretty cool. But there are still like a lot of these sort of cosmetic items and chest drops that just don't. Like I made my BD1, I turned him red. That was great. I liked it. I'm never going to change that again. I don't need different eyes or whatever. And then every time I do like a cool puzzle, and then the reward is like a new antenna for BD1, I'm not excited. Like that's like, oh shit, there we go again.
The
So I still
dopamine
think they
hit
can.
is in there. Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's like really. It kind of feels like busy work in a game like this that should not, that doesn't have to be like that. So I think like if they nuke down the amount of chest by half and made every like one that you found actually exciting, I think it would have been much better, because now I just don't care anymore about these drops. So that makes the open world nature of it, yeah, less exciting for me than I had hoped.
Yeah. Well, it's my biggest thing coming off of Jedi Fallen Order, because I just replayed it recently to do a sort of re-review of it, and my biggest problem was, for one, scope. It really felt like they were limited on budget. The first game ends out of nowhere, so a lot of people haven't even finished re-exploring the levels with the Metroidvania style level design. So that was a big bummer. But beyond just scope, which obviously this time around they were given a much bigger check to work with, it feels like it's 5 different games all at the same time. And the first game felt like it couldn't decide from level to level what it wanted to be. If it wanted to be like a Soulsborne action adventure game, or if it wanted to be a narrative Star Wars game, if it wanted to be Uncharted in Star Wars, which is what the opening sequence was, like straight up with the train sequence like Uncharted 2. So it just felt like it had an identity crisis. And this time around, it feels like it's settled. Again, I haven't played much, but it feels like it's settled much closer to its own identity. But from what you're saying, it sounds like later levels, when they kind of open it up and let you just run around and do your own thing, it maybe is just, they haven't nailed the reward. Like the carrot on the stick is not as tasty as they think it is. It's just...
Yeah. And I think that God of War did that way better. Like there, every like item you find or runic attack or something is at least exciting. So that's something I hope they improve. I see some people ask like if there's New Game Plus, and there is. So there is like a ton of content in this package already. And I think the story really carries it forward, especially near the end. You're like, whoa, this is awesome. Obviously, especially if you are a Star Wars fan. But even if you're not a Star Wars fan, I think some cool stuff is happening. I just think that a lot of the improvements, I would have like loved to see them go even beyond that. It really feels like the middle game in the trilogy, and then probably the third game will be finally the full vision of what it wanted to be.
I mean, speaking of reward for exploration and opening chests and finding useful stuff, I mean, it sounds like pretty much everything you'll find is tied up into the cosmetics. Do you think it would have been better off if they had given you the ability to find ponchos that increase movement speed or upgrade your force ability by 20% or something like that. Do you think that would have been a better route to go?
Yeah, I actually think so, because that would mean that even if you don't like the look of the item, it could still have some benefit. And then with a transmog system, you could still like look completely different while you would have that movement increase. But I get it, like they don't want to be an RPG. So I get that they're not going that way. It's just more that it really feels like kind of what Ubisoft has been doing as well with like every Assassin's Creed game. They're adding a new sort of pillar to their cosmetic stuff. So in Origins, you had the mounts and you had the weapons. And then in Odyssey, we had our ship. And then in Valhalla, they also had a settlement. So there were like a lot of things to collect. And it kind of feels like that in Jedi Survivor as well. Like, cool, more stuff for BD1. But this also means that every chest has to have like one of these parts. And that just makes it less exciting, especially because for some of these items, you have to work. Like, it's not like or like I said, you find new unlocks later on in the story. So then you're like, oh, cool. Now I can go back to this part of the planet. I had like, because I think it's pretty well done. They did improve the map where you can now also really easily see, okay, I have to go there for some cool, some things that I could not open yet. But now, hey, it's green. It means that I can open it now. But it can take some time to fast travel between these points. And then if you go there, maybe it took you like 10 minutes. You get it finally, and then it's like a stupid like pants for Cal. It's like,
yeah.
So I wish they totally improved that. That's, and I think there are. I'm kind of sounding really negative on it. I'm liking it. I just like expected maybe a bit more, but also I'm not sure if you like unlocked all the stances already for the lightsaber.
Not yet. No, I don't think so.
Okay, so yeah, you have 5 of them, which is really cool. So you start with your single blade, then you have like the Darth Maul style dual-bladed lightsaber. They can actually dual-wield lightsabers very early on. So the game like builds up really fast. And then you get these other 2 stances relatively early in the game as well. And if you just find your favorite like way to hold a lightsaber, or like your favorite like stance for the lightsaber, you can just like use that throughout the game. There's no like, they're not like introducing certain enemies that are strong against this type of lightsabers or something like that. So if you like just focus on one lightsaber stance, put all your skill points there, there's no reason to switch apart from you wanting to do some different stuff in the game. So like that's what I think like God of War did really well with like fire enemies. Okay, I'm not going to use the blades on them because obviously they are resistant and stuff like that.
Or like probably the best example would be Ghost of Tsushima with the especially the DLC that they did, where they had enemies that in real time could change their resistance. Pull out a shield and then you have to swap stance. Then you pull out the halberd and then you have to swap stance again.
That was in the main game even as well, but that was awesome. Yeah, you were constantly like forced to play maybe not the way you wanted to, but you had to kind of like the rock paper scissors sort of mechanic they had in place was really cool. And that's not the case here. It's like, it's really like you be the Jedi you want to be, and there are a lot of possibilities, but I wish they would like push you a little in one direction, or that you had to think, oh, I have to use this in this direction. Or in this fight. But yeah, I think overall, I still recommend it. Like it's a great game. I think people will like it a bit more. I was just a huge fan of the first one because it was really a surprise for me. And so far I'm just not. Maybe at the end of the game when I like finish the final moments, because I hear like great things about them, I will be a bit higher on it. But personally, I would like be more into like the 8 category.
Well, especially it's just doing open world stuff. There is a real issue with trying to reward players for open world exploration purely by way of visual and cosmetic elements. I mean, we all love to hate on Breath of the Wild's choice to have weapon degradation, where you have a sword that's beautiful and made out of metal, and within 10 hits, it falls apart. But the reason they did that is because they want you to continue exploring, find more weapons to replace those, because those have a quantifiable, verifiable gameplay impact. And so you're constantly not even encouraged, because you might get something that looks cool. You're forced to look and seek out new things and new places. And to have an open world where the only real or have open world elements and levels where the only reward is going to be a mullet and then maybe some new pants. Like that's it's hard to motivate, hours
Yeah, for
and
sure.
hours.
I hope they learn from that. It's again a huge step up, but I do think they kind of fell in the trap of having too many singular things instead of if it was just a full outfit that you got each time, sure, but now you have to get the jacket, then you have to get the pants, then you have the color, so you can even change the color, and those are in completely different spots. So you're okay, I finally have my favorite outfit, but I can't change the color because then I have to look for another chest, and there's no indication where that is.
And is
So
there
are,
any
many things
benefit
like
to
that.
having a set? Like if you have the
No,
full set?
it's just it's just I don't like blue, so I want to change it, but then you have to get the color.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know. I mean, it's some people go crazy for the cosmetic stuff. Some people go wild for it. For
sure,
me,
sure.
I'm with
But
you.
it's
not for me.
but that's the most exciting chest because the whole loot table. I think the chests are dedicated though, but there are probably 20 different items that can even drop from a chest. So that the chance that you actually get a cool jacket is very slim
Oh.
because you're mostly getting BD1 legs or something, which is why. But I think we should unless you have something to add on the
I'm
Jedi
good.
Survivor stuff. Do we have any questions? I think people are saying really cool to they're liking the podcast so far,
Yeah,
which is
good.
great.
I'm glad.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Christian would love to have Lasers 2 talk about games like AC, Horizon, God of War. Yeah, our hope is to have guests on pretty regularly. I think that'd be super, super cool. So yeah, we definitely would love to do that. As for what do you feel about open world area fatigue? We've had Hogwarts, Atomic Heart, Dead Island 2, and now Jedi. It's definitely the case. People, I think, are starting to sort of reach the wall with open world adventure games. It's normal. I think every 5 to 7 years there's a new meta for what AAA games are supposed to be. For the last few years, it's been open world RPGs. Probably mostly brought
but
on
I
by
would
The Witcher.
put Jedi and God of War in a different camp. Actually, I would put them more in the linear with open and open levels camp. I think Horizon hit in a weird spot because by that point people were kind of they were not, because Ubisoft had just launched Valhalla with 1,000,000 hours and stuff. So I think there are these those are the big open world games with all the icons and the bandit camps and stuff. I agree, I'm over that as well, and that's why I think Elden Ring did so well, because it launched 1 week later and showed, hey, you can also do an open world game like this. But we are of course still seeing those elements now in Jedi Survivor as well. But I still think that you can ignore all the open world stuff very easily and just enjoy the story. So I think it's at its core still a linear story game, while Horizon or previous open world titles of course force you to go out into the world as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where we move to, because we're always delayed 3, 4, 5 years. So everybody was saying when Elden Ring came out, everybody was get ready for every studio to be doing their version of Elden Ring.
I'm gonna look at Rocksteady. They know what's best. They have been cooking something, and they know what we will all be playing in a few years.
Yeah, well, I mean, we shall see. We shall see.
I mean, Suicide Squad already too late, and it's now coming in 2024. So
yeah, that was.
Hope they can turn that around. Yeah. Okay, I wanna let's move on to some speculation, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this as well. So actually, PlayStation is doing very well. Of course, they finally this year solved the supply issue. You can now run out and buy a PS5 if you want. And many people did it, actually. I think they had the biggest quarter ever. I don't have the number in front of you. I think it was 6.8 million or something in one quarter, which is the biggest for PlayStation ever. And they're now forecasting, so for April 2023 till March 2024, or until March 2024, 25 million PS5s. And the console is now almost at 4 or 50 million, actually, I think.
Yeah, 25 million PS5 units by April 24.
Yeah. So they want like in that 12-month period,
Yeah.
25 million. That would be the
Jesus.
highest they ever achieved. But what is interesting though, because when they say like that big of a number, you would think there's also something coming out that would move units. Um, but they only have Spider-Man announced right now. We know the Last of Us multiplayer game is of course coming. We know about a ton of projects that still seem far away. But what they're basically saying, as Steven Totillo actually noted on Twitter, that they're expecting a drop in first-party game sales for the 12 months ending March 2024 compared to the prior year. So basically, the last year we had, of course, God of War Ragnarok, Last of Us Part 1, and still a lot of sales from Horizon and Gran Turismo that launched in their previous financial year, because the financial year starts in April 2022 till April 2023. So they're expecting like lower sales with Spider-Man versus God of War and Last of Us. So that makes me think that they only have Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know what the deal is. Hopefully they just have a handful of things that are coming later in the generation. It's still crazy to think that we're, at this point going on 3 years into the generation. Like, that's insane. But we're marching our way through very quickly. And I think PS5 Success has been, for one, they've differentiated themselves a lot from the previous console. Xbox sort of pulled a Wii U where the controller looks identical to the last one. It feels almost identical. And frankly, like with xCloud, with PC, and having Game Pass Ultimate, share between all of them, there just isn't a whole lot of reason to go out and buy a 300, or I think maybe 250 if you get it on sale for the Series S, or like a $500 Series X. There's just very little reason to do it, especially because they don't have the games that are driving it. Once we get Starfield, maybe that changes, but it's unfair to ask your customers to spend hundreds of dollars for the promise of maybe having games that will justify it in the future. It's why I had a problem with buying like a PSVR 2. Amazing piece of hardware, amazing piece of tech. But like, I'm buying it with the hope that in the future there will be more games to justify spending $550 on it,
And there was a big difference. Like, Microsoft was like teasing Perfect Dark and Fable and all those games that are still like very early, which is crazy to think about because I think they announced them in 2020.
Yeah.
But Sony was upfront with PSVR 2. This is what you get.
Deal with it.
Yeah, fingers crossed that there's more. We are not going to tell you. So yeah, you can probably figure out that there's not going to be more.
Yeah. Well, and as long as people go into it knowing that that's what it is,
yeah.
I'm fine with that. The problem was that there were a ton of people that are like, well, I'm spending $550, and this is somebody that probably has a, that's half of their rent. That's a huge cost for a lot, most people. And as long as you know what you're getting, that's okay. But you just have to understand it. And I think that consumers in general are very savvy and smart, especially in the tech space. And with Xbox, they just have not had the steady flow of games that justify hundreds of dollars to buy the console. And maybe that changes this year. I mean, they've got Redfall, which maybe is the best game ever. Who knows? They've got Starfield coming.
Probably not.
Maybe that's the best game ever. I don't know.
Probably not.
Yeah. The big thing is, like, I think Xbox so far has really failed to have those games that get discussed as the best games of the year, as some of the most widespread mass market appeal titles. Because even God of War, which on paper should be more of a niche title, had mass market appeals, selling millions and millions of copies. Same with The Last of Us and all these. And Xbox just hasn't really had that. Hi-Fi Rush is great, but Hi-Fi Rush is not going to like get grandma off the couch to go buy it as a Christmas present. It's not something that she's going to be talking about at bingo.
And I think like Starfield will be the first game. I of course said I was joking when I don't think it. I think it can. I hope it's gonna be like an Elden Ring sort of moment where it's like a new IP. Of course, we still know from like famous developers, but they're trying something new, and hopefully like pushes the open world genre like forward. But I'm like still curious what the mass market appeal will be for that game. But it will be the first game where we really see what Game Pass and what their whole strategy they've been building since 2020 actually means, because we just haven't seen that. With Halo, it was like a fractured launch, and yeah, that also did not really work. I think Forza Horizon was like the only other big one where we really saw that people were like, damn, I want to get an Xbox to play that, because I still believe in the fact that there are just people that only play on console and only play on PC. So I do get that launching. I still think that Sony should probably launch games on PC closer, at least, than what they're doing right now. But because like it really makes sense to have like this one moment where everyone comes together to play this game, and God of War would have been even bigger if they did that. But yeah, they of course want to sell their consoles, and it's working fine, that strategy still. But yeah, curious for Xbox. It's like if they did not buy Bethesda, they would have had nothing this year. That's crazy, right?
Well,
how is that possible?
It's
how
just
is that possible?
It's important to remember that like Xbox, they're buying up a lot of people. They have a lot of studios under their helm, but their problem for like a decade has been that they, for whatever reason, as a management structure, really struggle with getting projects across the finish line, specifically video games, which is crazy because Microsoft is a software company. They should be able to do it, but they just really struggle. And they have games go into development hell. They have games they announced a decade ago that still are in early production. They have all of this madness going on, and they've got to figure that out, because they can buy BGS. They could somehow get the Activision deal across the finish line and have all these studios. But if the management, for whatever reason, cannot get games across the finish line to go gold and to release, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many studios you have. If you can't do that, then you're just wasting time. It's like the whole like Ubisoft, when they casually mention that they lost $500 million on projects that have either been canceled or abandoned. Like $500 million on projects that will never see the light of day.
And they make like $1 billion or something. Like they're versus like EA and Activision, they like make significantly less money, while they have like twice the amount of employees at like 20,000.
Yeah.
So they're like an interesting entity for sure. I see people say Deadfall. I kind of laughed, but I hope it's good. I hope it's good. Like I'm a huge. I should like this game. It's Far Cry. Like I like Arcane. I will try it. I will be playing Jedi still when it releases.
Yeah.
But
when I talked to Mr. Matty Plays about Bethesda stuff, he said when you look at those trailers, there's a Bethesda stink to it. And with like Deadfall, with that, you look at it, and for me, there's also a stink to it. There's something about what they've shown that just doesn't sit right. And maybe I'm just a cynical prick, but there's just something that isn't clicking for me, and I'm not sure what.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
I hope it's good. I think it will be like an Outriders moment. That was great. Outriders was fine, and people played it for a few weeks, and then they dropped it, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
I do have to run in like a few, so should we like ask the chat maybe something, or?
I know one thing. We can wrap up with this. A ton of people have been asking about it in chat, and that is the trailer for Armored Core 6 dropped yesterday, and has excited
I saw
a
it
bunch of people.
Okay, people are hyped.
People
August
are very hyped.
25th, right?
Yeah, it's
Same
coming
week
this year.
as Mirage.
Same, allegedly. Allegedly, we'll see. I don't know. I've never played Armored Core. Have you ever touched them?
No, but I did like do some research when making like a video with all the games coming this year. So I did look at like some older footage. I think it's interesting. I think it's cool that they're doing something like this again, because normally with a studio like FromSoft that is like high off the heels of Elden Ring. Of course, this was in development way before that, but they could have probably been like, let's make another Dark Souls or something. But no, they want to go back to Armored Core, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I don't know if this is the case, but what I've heard from people who have read many interviews with Hidetaka Miyazaki and the team at FromSoft, they constantly get asked, of course, like, when are you going to be releasing Bloodborne 2? When are you going to be doing this and that? And they've always said that their passion is with games like Armored Core. They love the mech, I don't know, mech action games, mech combat, mech something. That's where their passion lies, and it seems like they're returning to it. They did make sure to announce in a press statement, though, that this will play differently than the Soulsborne games, which I think people just need to remember. Of course. It's not going to be Elden Ring with robots. And as long as you understand
I don't think they're like hyping it up as from the makers of Elden Ring, right? I don't think they're doing that, so people don't get the wrong idea. But it's like, yeah. I don't know if I do think like this will be the biggest Armored Core ever if it's like a good game.
Oh yeah,
because people are hungry for more FromSoft stuff. But I do think it will be like a camp of people being like, oh, this is not what I want from them. Yeah, and that's fine.
If anybody can make mech games go mainstream, it's FromSoft.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Or mainstream in the West, because this is still huge in Asia for sure.
Crimson says I played all of them. That's awesome.
Yeah, Crimson's our resident nice. Armored Core expert.
Oh, nice.
But you have dinner to get to.
Yeah, that's right. I have to my father's birthday today.
Yes.
On the Jedi launch day. So we're gonna go there and then have some Jedi content as well in this weekend and stuff.
Yeah, good stuff.
So thanks for having me, of course.
Yeah.
Fun to finally get this ball rolling. And let's do it again next week.
Yeah, we'll do it again, guys. I'll stay back and I can go through some of your questions in chat and we can wrap those up. And, maybe just like 5 minutes of questions and wrap it up. But lovely chatting, Joe Raptor. And again, we'll be back next week with more.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. And, the next episode will be a bit longer.
Yes.
But yeah, have fun. See you later.
He took my thing.